Hi, John Graham, HoustonISO9000.com. We're continuing with Section 7 of ISO 9001 2015 resources, looking specifically at 715 monitoring and measurement. A lot of you will know this as calibration, but it's really in two parts. The standard wants you, before you jump into calibration, think back to your processes that you selected in Section 4.4. Processes selected in Section 4.4. Some of those are making your product. And as you went through that, you said, here's what we're going to monitor and measure. That's a requirement of Section 4.4 to determine that. Now, the standard says, what are you going to use? You're going to use equipment. Yes, a lot of times it could be micrometers, weigh scales, lab equipment. But careful, it might also be a test that you give. If you're a company that develops training courses, it's a test that you give and you want to validate that people gain the knowledge. So that's not a calibrated instrument, it's really a validated test. You might also have software that you use to validate your product and right before it goes out the door. So it could be that too. Now let's look at the specifics of calibration of instruments. And the standard actually says equipment. So you should have a calibration schedule. Auditors will look for that. The calibration should be traceable to NIST. The standard actually says you can calibrate and or validate prior to use or on a regular scheduled basis. Validation is when you check one of your instruments against something that's calibrated. Be careful, you also need a record of that every time you do it. Also, a lot of people say that you must have stickers. The standard doesn't say that. It says the users must have knowledge of the status of calibration. Stickers aren't always the best choice. I certified a grease plant once, and if you put stickers on these instruments, they don't stick very long. The next day you'll find them sitting on the floor. So what another alternate is to tattoo a number on there and then have it tied back to a file that has the information in it. And make sure that information, that calibration is traceable to a national standard, and here in the U.S., most popular, NIST, National Institute of Standard and Testing is the most normal. Also, the standard says protect these instruments so that it protects the validity of the calibration. They don't want something getting beat up. Sensitive instrument gets dropped, it can knock it out of calibration. I actually had a guy had a micrometer bouncing around in the back of a pickup truck once, and he drove them down the levees making measurements. That's not going to meet the standards requirements of ISO. So be careful with that. One last thing, in addition to records required for all of this, the standard says if you find something out of calibration tolerance, you'll react to that and follow up. One of the easiest ways is to issue a corrective action and go back and determine and pull some other samples from retains or whatever you have and determine, did we really have a problem? And if you do, take the appropriate action. Most of the time you won't have a problem, but make sure that you can do that. Auditors will look for that.